Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to another look at a segment of our past history in Uri. And today we have a very special guest on our programme with Destination Uri. We have former seaman Mickey Fearn, and we've come to Mickey's home here today to speak to him about his time at sea and his recollections of life in what is now a past era. And Mickey's we're looking forward to hearing his story today. So Mickey's a very special man in that he's probably the oldest surviving seaman in the Newry area at the minute, and he's now into his 90th year. A man with a tremendous power of recall, great clarity of memory, and let's hear Mickey's story. Mickey, good afternoon, how are you?
I'm very well.
Good.
Yeah.
I said there, Mickey, you're into your 90th year.
I'll be 90 in August.
You were born in 1923.
23, yes.
And
August 1923, 5th of August.
you were born in what was then Queen Street.
It was Queen Street, beside the Dominican Chapel.
Yeah. Number 8 Queen Street.
Number 8.
And as we know, the Urban Council, as it was then, renamed Queen Street Dominic Street in 1950.
That's right.
But tell us what life was like in Queen Street in your early years, Mickey.
Well, I was just a baby growing up and going to school. I went to Canal Street School for the nuns.
Yeah.
And from there, we left Queen Street and went to live on the Flagstaff Road. And I continued my school at Clog School.
Yes.
That's on the Fourthill Road.
That was the original Clog School.
That was the original Clog School, the old Clog School.
Yeah.
And I finished my schooling at the new Clog School, which was built down beside the golf course there.
Yes, that's right.
On the opposite side of the road. So,
A couple of weeks ago, Mickey, we were talking to an old school friend of yours and a good friend of yours, Miss Eileen Murphy.
Eileen Murphy.
And Eileen was at Clog School along with you.
That's right, she was at school with me, that's right.
So then, later on, the family moved over to the top of the Hillhead Road.
That's right.
At above Drummond Quarry.
Over past the quarry a bit.
And your father also, Mickey, he was a seaman.
He was a seaman, that's right. Yeah.
And he was an ex-member of the Irish Army.
The Irish Army. He was stationed there on Meath when he was in the Irish Army. That was during the troubled years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when he left the army, he went to sea.
He went to sea, yeah.
And his father had come from Ravensdale.
From Ravensdale, beside the Lumper Trainers pub. That's where their home was. That house is still there.
Yeah. But
part of it.
But your granny came from a long way away.
She come from Bandon and Cork.
Bandon and West Cork.
She was a servant girl.
Right.
And I suppose she went wherever she got employment. So she finished that round the Newry area.
Mm-hmm.
She worked mostly for doctors and things. She was what was known in them days as a skivvy. And,
now, your own father, Mickey, he married a girl from Trillick.
From Trillick in the County Tyrone.
And her name was Lily Tunney.
That's right.
And many people will remember Hugh Tunney from the meat industry in the 70s and 80s.
She would have been his aunt.
Very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Mickey, you're remembered for a lifetime at sea, particularly remembered around Newry. And that sea career started when you were 14 years of age.
That's right. I started in the Oak. I'd done 2 trips, and I one to Liverpool and one to Drogheda. And I got paid off in Drogheda and continued on up to Dublin and joined the Bamboo. The boat, the Oak and Drogheda was going into the dry dock for our annual refit.
Mm-hmm.
And then they shifted me and another seaman to Dublin to join the Bamboo. There was 2 of the crew leaving her, and she was captained by Captain McBride from Kilkeel, but he was originally from Bridgestone in Newry. And I continued there till I retired and went lockmaster at Newry Locks.
That was in 1968. Now,
68.
just to continue, Mickey, for a minute about the Bamboo. You told me before the captain was a Captain Connor, or Captain McBride.
Captain McBride.
From Kilkeel, and he was a Newry man.
He was round in Bridge Street.
Round in Bridge Street. And the mate was
McKeown.
Tommy McKeown.
Tommy McKeown.
And Tommy McKeown, of course, was mate on the Carry when she was involved in the explosion. In the Mersey in 1942.
That's right.
Well, now, at that time, Mickey, coasting, they talk about coasting, but with fishers at that time, coasting involved travelling right across northwest Europe, isn't that right?
That's right. That's right, yeah.
And could you tell us some of the destinations that you went to?
Well, you'd probably load a cargo of coal in Preston for Waterford. And you'd maybe in Waterford you'd load pit props for the mines. And you would take them to Swansea and you would load coal in Swansea then. Anthracite coal was the coal that was used. It was great steam coal on railways. And you would discharge that maybe in some of the nearest ports and go from there over to the continent, to Rotterdam or maybe Amsterdam or some of them places. And you would load grain. You usually loaded grain back till Preston, or the grain that makes your bread. You'd probably load, you'd shift across the dock. There's only one dock in Preston. There's a basin and a dock, and you'd shift across to the coal tips and load a cargo of coal probably for Newry. And you kind of repeated the process round there. You were a coasting ship, you see, and you go wherever the cargo was available.
Well, I remember you saying before that when you joined the Bamboo, it was 7 long months before you docked in Newry.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Before we come north of Dublin, we were trading more or less round Cork and Waterford, Rosslare, places like that.
So you may as well have been in a foreign going ship.
Well, if you were in a foreign going ship, you'd probably be home within 3 months anyway. Yeah. Yeah.
So literally, as long as it fitted into the hold of the ship, fishers carried it.
They carried any, they were coasting ships and they carried any cargo that was available.
And of course, one of the big trades they had then was the French trade.
The French did the starboarding.
Yeah.
From a place called Brest in France up to Plymouth. You discharge your strawberries and you'd go back late ship and do the same while the season lasted. When the season would last roughly 6 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
You told me a story once, Mickey, about going to France with Captain Brian O'Keefe, and you didn't have a chart.
Oh, that's right.
Will you tell us that story?
Well, I'll tell you the story. He looked around the ship suppliers and he couldn't get a chart for the French coast. But he says to me, he says I was round different and the agents was round and I couldn't get a chart to suit the French coast. But he says there's one thing I do know. I know that the land didn't shift. So he says, we'll find our way. He was a great coaster. He says to me, the land didn't shift, we'll pick up Rotterdam or Brest or wherever we're going, we'll get a hold of it and we'll get a chart there, you know. See, ships coming out, they were always supplied with charts, but this was one that was needed that wasn't there. Okay.
So he used the compass rose on the atlas.
And his own knowledge. As he says, like, well, Ireland didn't shift, he says, the continent didn't shift, the land's still there. He was what you call a coasting captain and he knew his stuff. He's only a young man too, like. Like,
you spent a long time with him.
Altogether I've been nearly with him the best part of 25 or 26 years. Spent a long time with Brian Keefe.
And you described him before, Mickey, as the best coasting skipper of his generation.
It was, definitely was, yeah.
A lot of local knowledge.
A lot of local knowledge is right. A great coaster he was.
Another man who is legendary in Uri circles was wee Harry Hollywood.
Another man, a very smart coasting man, wee Harry. He was called wee Harry because he was wee. He was only about 5 foot and a half or something. His house was down there yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Maguire's house on the Meath Road. His sister lived there and she got married to a man called Maguire, Mick Maguire. He was from Carlingford. He was in them force boats. They traded, they belonged to the Clyde and they traded all over the place too. They were coasting ships. Galliot Force and that's where Maguire joined them.
Well, Harry Hollywood had a phenomenal career at sea.
He had.
He was at sea from he was 14 till he was 78.
He retired when he was 78, that's right.
And he died when he was 79.
And he died 10 years after.
No, the next year.
The next year, 79.
10 months after.
10 months or so, yeah.
And did you sail with Harry, Mickey?
I did. I was on the balsa with him. And I was in the peepee with him. He was master of the peepee when I was A&B and a sailorman. I was in a couple of ships with him.
And what sort of a man was he to work with?
He was a gentleman. You done your work, he never interfered with you. He knew his crew, so he didn't. He knew their work.
And you said he was a good man, a very good man at dead reckoning.
Great. He was great. All that. He always picked up where he was looking for. Dead right. All them boats had in them days was a log, a walker's log that they towed behind till give them the mileage, what mileage they were doing. If she was doing 10 mile an hour or 8 mile an hour, whatever the case may be, you know. Now they have DACA and the radar, and it's a different ball game now altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, maybe moving on, what age were you when you got married?
I was 18. I was 18 and the wife was 18.
And that was Sheila Murray from Mary
Sheila
Street.
Murray from Mary Street. She was a champion Irish dancer.
And her dad was a docker.
Her dad was a doctor. He worked on the keys in Uri at everything that was coming. As a lot of men around there done the same.
Mm-hmm.
The McShanes and you name them, the McHughes.
Like the port maybe was
Port was
really
a-
important, wasn't it?
The port was a very busy port. There was anything up to 6 ships a day changed cargoes in that port. Some of them discharged and went away a light ship, away across to Liverpool or Garrison or Preston and loaded back again. Then probably loaded potatoes for Swansea or somewhere. It was a fully, what would you say it? There was plenty of employment around the port in Uri, so there was in them days.
Yeah, and a lot of the people looked to the port for
They
employment.
made their living.
For instance, in round Thomas Street, Dominic Street.
Yeah, and as far up as Fadden too, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, they made their living in the. You had
the Fadham area in particular, Mickey, was a big contributor
Tin Uri.
to Newry and to the port, wasn't
Big contributor. And then you had the general cargo boat once a week from the steam packet. She carried cattle out and maybe sheep, and
it? That was the Dundalk.
that was the Dundalk. Before the Dundalk was the Lady Cavan.
Mm-hmm.
The Lady Cavan's the one that sunk the Alden and the Privet.
Well, Mickey, how many children did you and Sheila have?
We had 14.
14 children.
Yeah.
And your son Teddy is he's retired now. He was a ship's captain also.
He was a ship's captain. He sailed mostly in Rix's boats.
Rex of Hull.
Rix of Hull. Yeah.
And your own family, Mickey, your 2 brothers, Paddy and Hugh John,
Hugh John.
and they were also seamen.
They were seamen,
Tragedy struck the family in 1950 when your brother Paddy,
Paddy was killed on the
Was
Warren
killed.
Point Road there.
he had an accident with a bus
A bus.
at Warren Point round the golf club.
Just at the golf club. Clora Rogers' father was there. I got off the bus that killed him. I come up from Belfast. We got into Belfast and we got the night on it. And I got the 8 o'clock bus from Belfast to Newry. And I got off that bus in Newry. It was 10:10 then, and he travelled on down to Warren Point on the road down to Kildare. Paddy was coming along with two other fellas. One was 2 other seamen, but they were only out for the day. Mickey Casey and Robert Kelly.
And Robert was buried last week.
He was buried, as you know, last week.
And the sad thing, the really tragic thing about it was that Paddy had just come home after being away deep sea for a couple of years.
He was away nearly 5 years.
Right.
Yeah. He sailed all over the place. Deep sea.
And
Australia, New Zealand, you name it.
and then Hugh John spent most of his time with coastlines.
He was with coastlines. They were they were a big crowd, a big coasting crowd too. They coasted all round England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. You would see a coastline ship in every port you would go into. If you didn't see 3 or 4, you'd definitely see one. Yeah.
And he married into another old seafaring family too, didn't he?
Aye.
The Duffys.
The Duffys. The Duffys was all seafarers, every one of them. Sailed mostly in fishers' boats. See, Fisher had 16 or 17 coasters, and then you take cruises of Liverpool. You take monks to Liverpool. They were all coasting ships, flying all around the place. Monks has done a lot of grain trades in Uri. Clare amongst, and there's no use in naming them. There was a whole fleet of them. Sprayville and all that. There was plenty of employment for seamen in them days. Now there's no employment.
I think in actual fact,
Very little.
the only man that we know from about Newry is Morty Duffy.
Morty Duffy would be the only one from Newry at the minute at sea, and he's retiring anytime.
And his late father died on the Ebony.
He died in the Ebony.
Paddy Duffy.
Paddy Duffy, yeah.
In fact, your old friend made him his last cup of tea.
Mickey Quinn.
Mickey.
Mickey Quinn.
And you were at sea then for a long time on the Olive with Mickey's brother Pat.
I was with Pat a long time. Pat was the cook on the Oak and the Olive.
Now you mentioned the Oak a few times there, Mickey. There was one infamous trip that you made from Newry to Garston, and it took 48 or 49 hours.
Well, that was a usual thing, you know. You went out there, you left Carlingford Lock maybe in a moderate southeast gale, and you got out a few miles, it got worse. But you carried on. There was no point in going back the mileage that you covered maybe 9 or 10 mile. The distance from Carlingford Bar till Liverpool Bar is roughly 100 mile, nautical mile. And if you had 10 or 20 of it done, you weren't going to run back and waste that 10 or 20. You carried on, even though she was only doing 3 or 4 knots. She was still making progress. And that was a usual thing in the winter time, and especially the winter gales, you know.
Well, Mickey, silly question I know for a man like you, but I have to ask you, were you ever afraid?
Never.
Truthfully?
I never was afraid. If I was, I wouldn't have been at it.
Right.
No, none of my mates that I knew ever mentioned fear. It was like driving an old lorry around the town here. To them and to me too. I never was afraid, no.
And tell me, Mickey, when as did happen, when some of the ships from the fleet were lost,
Yeah.
did that have an effect on you?
No. You'd say a prayer for them and carry on.
Like, you would well remember when the Privet and the Walnut were lost.
Well, they hit mines, them boats. They weren't lost for bad weather, they hit a mine.
Now, you're convinced of that, Mickey, aren't you?
Surely they were out in too much bad weather for them to be lost in bad weather. They were some 9 and 10 years at sea in gales going. It was they hit mines. And their mines would probably be British mines. And then we were coming down off the Isle of Man one morning. There was a fellow called Paddy Craven on watch with me, and he says to me, look at that there. It was just off the bow. A mine. You see, certain ports like Liverpool Port and that, the British had the mines, their own mines chained up and to keep these submarines out and that. And now, in bad weather or maybe heavy gales, some of them would get adrift.
Break free.
And that's the boy you would see floating. You would come across, you'd see him floating. And in them days, as soon as you got to port, you reported it. And the main sweepers would go out and round them up, take them aboard and tow them away for to be reconnected again or something to that effect. Aye, yeah.
So you're convinced that the privet and the walnut,
Definitely.
that was the fate that befell
That was
them?
the fate that they never knew what happened. They hit mines.
Now, in actual fact, the night that the privet left Birkenhead, the 5th of December 1940,
Yeah.
you came down the Mersey that night on the Rowan.
On the road, that's right. We were down after it.
You were bound for Waterford.
We were bound to Waterford, that's right.
And just to get back to that, Mickey, when it probably was a week or so later when you would have heard that the privet was lost.
Oh, aye, there was no real communication. The communication you got was the boat was lost. She didn't arrive in Waterford. She didn't arrive. The agents tell you, well, she's overdue 2 days or a day or 3 days. She's overdue. We take it she must have hit a mine.
And life just carried on.
And life carried on, yeah.
Well, Mickey, 1963, Fishers brought out the last new ship, the Olive.
The Olive, that's right.
And you spent a long time on the Olive.
I was a good while on that.
And in 1967, there was an incident at the up around the top of Scotland, off Wick.
Aye, we were in collision with a Newfoundland trawler. He was coming in from Newfoundland until his destination for landing fish was Hull. And he was heading down for Hull and we were in collision with him. It was then swell. And
But the Olive was at anchor.
no, we were on the way.
Oh, you were on the way.
Oh, we were on the way. We were proceeding slowly in the fog, like, with a good lookout. And he would be coming the opposite course. If we were staying north, he would be staying south-west. There's south-southeast and east-southeast and north-northeast, and you know, but he'd be staying the opposite coast to us. And we got too close and we collided. We didn't even see him till he hit us.
Well, did you pick him up on the radar?
We had no radar. We had radar, but we didn't pick him up on it. You can get false readings on the radar too. The radar is a help to navigation. It's as good as the man that's walking it, if you understand. You could get a man on the radar there that wouldn't be walking it correctly. But we didn't pick him up till we hit him, and he must have been in the same position. If he had picked us up, he would have stayed clear. He would take a decision that clear from us or vice versa.
And was there much damage, Mickey?
Not a big lot, no. No, we put into Wick and got temporary repairs, and he put into Wick. The two ships were in about. Wick was a port about an hour from where we had the collision, about 10 mile. Up there, Duncan's Bay Head on the mainland. He followed us in and he got repairs too and carried on to Hull, and we got repairs and carried on to Newry.
You were coming from Blythe.
We were coming from Blythe.
Well, that spell on the Olive renewed your acquaintance with Captain O'Keefe.
Oh yes.
He was the skipper when she came out new.
He was indeed. He took her out in new boat. Aye.
And how did you find the Olive compared to, how had things improved over the years, Mickey, compared to, say, when you started on the Oak?
Because for one simple thing, and the boats you started in, the old Olive as I would call her, there was 4 or 5 men in the one cabin. In the new Olive, each man had a cabin to himself.
Mm-hmm.
You had a nice cabin to yourself. Each man. There was only 10 of the crew in them anyway.
And you also had a man, chief engineer, who had a long history in fishers, Johnny McElroy.
Johnny McElroy, I read Johnny.
And Johnny went back to the Kerry.
Oh, Johnny went back. He was he was in the steamboats with fishers, and then the first motorboat. They sent him away to Hamburg. Her engine was built in Hamburg, and they sent him to Hamburg, and he learned that the engine being built. So he knew all about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was put in the ship, and she was the first motorboat.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny. And he finished his days with fishers.
So he must have had over 40 years at sea, Johnny.
Oh, Jesus, yes. He was a sea, well, his father used to be engineer in Kelly's boats. That was steam engineers, as they call them. There was no motorboats then, as it goes. There was very few motorboats. Very few ships with motor engines in them days. I'm talking about the early 30s and that.
And then, Mickey, in 1968, your working life took a change of direction.
Yeah.
You became the lockmaster at Victoria Locks.
That's right, I started lockmaster. I relieved Terry O'Hanlon at the locks. And I done 7 years there.
As it turned out, you were the last lockmaster.
I was the last one, and my brother was the last harbour master.
Yeah, Hugh John.
Hugh John, yeah.
And just when we mentioned Hugh John, Mickey, another special man to you was this man, Father Gerard Fern.
Oh, well, that's Hugh John.
Hugh John's son.
Son, aye.
And sadly, Gerard passed away.
Yeah, brain tumour.
Last year.
That's right.
But he had a great interest, and Paddy McCann always says that if Father Gerard hadn't been a priest, he would have been a seaman.
He would have been a seaman, aye.
He was very interested
in the sea, aye.
And his family history.
Aye, yeah.
Well, Mickey, how did you enjoy your time at the Locks?
Very much so. Very much so till they come and blew it up. So, what can you say? So they blew the gates.
But you got going again.
We got going again for a short time, and then they closed the port. During that time they opened up Warren Point.
Mm. But Warren Point was always going to be opened.
It was always going to be opened, aye. Yeah.
Newry had outlived its day.
It was the size of the ships.
Yeah.
The biggest you could take into Newry would be 1,000.
1,000. And we used to, at the end, you remember, we used to get groundings round the quarry.
Aye.
I remember Leonard Hollywood got grounded with the Olive, didn't
hours. He was the whole night there, till they got him lightened. They got the crane down from Newry and got him lightened.
Well, you knew when you saw the Olive coming at the Norris that day that she was down in the head.
She was too deep, yeah.
And how long did it take to get to Newry?
She was 24 hours from the Locks to Newry. You see, he stuck there at the broad place, as I would call it. That's a wee bit south of the quarry.
Mm-hmm.
She just stuck there, and I had to get a crane down from Newry and grab and get a lot of the cargo out to lighten her up. And then he proceeded on up.
Very good. Well, Mickey, I was just counting up the other day. You've been the last lockmaster for 7 years. There was just 3 lockmasters in the time that Newry Port and Harbour Trust were in charge from 1901. The first was Jimmy O'Neill, and he was there 50 years.
Jimmy O'Neill was 50 years there, she was.
A man you would have known well.
I knew him well, surely. And then there was Terence O'Hanlon.
Yeah. 51 to 68.
To 68, aye.
And Terry had been decorated at Dunkirk.
Oh, he was decorated for the evacuation of Dunkirk, aye. Him and Barney Murphy was decorated.
So a rich, rich vein of history.
Oh, aye, a lot of history already. Yeah.
And when the port closed then, Mickey, you went back to sea.
I went back to sea, aye. I went back in the Alps.
With Captain McCormick.
I joined her in one point.
And how long were you at sea then?
I'd been, I suppose I was the best part of about 3 years till I retired.
Retired.
Retired altogether.
And Mickey, do you miss work?
Fucking do miss it, up to a point like I miss it, you know. I keep in touch with the old port and that to be down and up with the Jimmy fella. You miss it. You miss it's your life that you miss. Like I'd be 90 now in August. So I keep as active as I can, you know.
And does it sadden you, Mickey, when you look at the basin today and look at the dereliction?
Oh, there's a lot of dereliction, isn't there? Just a couple of wee yachts there. Where it used to be, each of them boats for the discharge them before they put the gravels there, there was like about 20 men in each boat walking, digging the coal out. Where change, isn't it? When they were made redundant, they got £1,000 redundancy money, and that was that, go and look for work wherever you like. And it was such a busy port. But as the saying goes, Warren Point took over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is natural, you know. And everything affects everything, like. At one time, it was nothing to see 20 or 25 ships sailing out of Garrison at night, all loaded. There was 3 docks in Garrison, all coal loaded. Now you see about 2 tankers coming out of it. There's no coal coming out of it. The mines wasn't closed. They changed over to oil. So it's a whole different ball game now altogether.
And all those ships were heading for Ireland.
A big lot on for Ireland, north and south. There was no difference. You were either going to the south of Ireland or you were going to the north of Ireland. Yeah. And 8 and 9 if a crew in each of them. So it'll give you an idea of the employment that was lost. Yeah.
And Maggie, just briefly, and you were one of them. How would you rate the Newry seamen that you worked with?
Oh, the best in the world. The best in the world. And they sailed all over the world, the same man. Yeah.
They could hold their own.
Oh, they could hold their own. They were good seamen. In them days, you spliced your own wires, you sewed your own canvas. Now it's all comes ready-made now. any that is coming. All the mooring roofs that comes now, that comes spliced and all, done in a factory or something. Where the seamen in them days, they had done it aboard the ship. They got a coil of wire or a coil of rope and they spliced them. Left them ready for mooring. Open cargo, or whatever the case would be. Different ball game altogether.
But you're still on watch anyway, Mickey.
Still on watch. That's it. Still on watch.
Well, Mickey, thanks very much for talking to us.
Oh, you're welcome.
I've enjoyed, as I always do, and enjoyed it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mickey.
Okay. Same to you and your friend.